G'day guys, how's it going? I'm AZAWorldTV and this is AZAWorld Sport, where each week I talk about various different news, stories and topics from within the world of sport, but predominantly football. Now to kick things off, I just need to quickly apologise for this being a little bit later than it normally would have been, but I've actually been filming some animal moves around Europe this week for various different zoos and wildlife parks, so keep an eye out for those. They will be coming soon, but that's the reason why this video is a little bit late. Now, on to the only obvious story from this week, and first things first, I really hate being right. As much as it's cool to be right, in this situation, this is the worst situation to be right, because England are out of Euro 2016. They were beaten by Iceland. Now, let's just put that into perspective as to how much of an achievement this is for Iceland. Okay, they have a population of around 300,000 people, and on the night that they played England, 8% of their population were actually in France watching the game, and the rest of their population were actually watching it on TV. I think it was like 98% of them were watching the rest of the game on TV, which means that only about 350, 360 people in the whole of Iceland, or anyone who is Icelandic in the world, any Icelandic person, did not watch the England game or Iceland game. So that just gives you an idea as to how tiny that island really is. Then when you actually look at who could actually play for Iceland out of that tiny population, if you're aged between the age of, I think it's 18 and 21, you had a 1 in 2,000 chance of playing for Iceland at Euro 2016. So that just gives you an idea from a playing perspective how amazing this achievement is. From a managerial perspective, okay, Roy Hodgson has been paid £4 million in the time he's been England manager every year. I think the total equivalent is like 14 million he's earned being England manager. Iceland's manager is a part-time dentist. Congratulations, Roy Hodgson. You were just completely outthought by a dentist. Now, jokes aside, this is incredible, and I called this at the start. Iceland were my dark horse for this competition. I didn't necessarily expect them to win it, but I expected them to do something special, because at the end of the day, they are the reason that Holland aren't at Euro 2016. They are the sole reason Holland aren't there. All right, they beat them in Amsterdam. They got through their group, which was a much tougher group than England's. So this is no surprise to me that England lost to Iceland. So first things first, congratulations, Iceland. And yeah, I really hope you guys actually win it from this point on. I think it would be absolutely amazing and would really kind of crown off the year as the year of the underdog, really, when you look at like what Leicester did in the Premier League, just as an example. Now on to the three lions, or shall I say the three pussycats, because let's face it, there was no pride in that performance whatsoever, was there? Again, we're picking players completely based on their names and not based on form. Danny Drinkwater should have been at this tournament. Mark Noble should have been at this tournament. Who else? Maybe Andy Carroll should have been there. I mean, it's just, honestly, the list could go on as to players who should and shouldn't have been there. Jack Wilshere hasn't played a full 90 minutes since 2014, and yet he was at the Euros, and he was brought on for Eric Dyer. Now, the reason why this was a very weird substitution for me is because when you are constantly trying to attack a team, you do not take off your central defensive midfielder who has been one of the better players in the tournament. You let him sit there and let everyone else go forward and attack. But no, not Roy Hodgson. He's going to bring on Jack Wilshere, who, like I said, has hardly played in an awful long time and is probably a lot less disciplined than what Dyer was, considering that Jack Wilshere isn't a defensive midfielder. So that was one of an astounding amount of mistakes that were made in this game and in this tournament. Joe Hart has completely let us down in this tournament. I mean, I really rate Joe Hart as a goalkeeper. I think he's fantastic. I think he deserves to be at Manchester City, but I think for this entire tournament, he's had shampoo in his eyes. So, unfortunately, when you face 5 shots and you let in 4 goals, that isn't the sign of a world-class goalkeeper. So, for me, at this tournament, as good a goalkeeper as Joe Hart is, he has proven to me that he's not as good as the likes of Buffon, De Gea, Iker Casillas, anyone like that. And when you look at Buffon and Casillas, you could say that they're in their downward spiral of a career. And he's definitely not Manuel Neuer, so I can understand all the memes that are currently going around about Pep Guardiola crying at the fact that he's gone from Manuel Neuer to Joe Hart after the performances that he's put in at Euro 2016. But I really do hope that changes, and I do hope that Joe Hart next season, whether he actually stays at Manchester City, because obviously there's rumours that he may leave, proves to everyone, why he's England's number one. But, unfortunately, we don't have, or England hasn't had any managers that are truly ruthless. We're too worried about picking all of these big name players, but we play them in all of the wrong positions. And again, this is something that I called. We're going to put Jamie Vardy down a wing. Guess what? We did that in this tournament. We're not going to start Kane and Vardy up front. Guess what? We did that. The two strikers who have got around 50 goals between them in the Premier League alone this season. Fantastic decision. Where else do we go? Daniel Sturridge as a right winger. Really? He can't even use his right foot. And all you have to do is look back at the replays from the game. The amount of times that he was actually played in down the right and actually had a fantastic opportunity to put a ball into the box, but pulled it back onto his left foot because he can't cross. He on his right foot. All right, left foot, he can do some pretty awesome things. We've seen him do that. But then you look at the other side. Raheem Sterling, a right-footed player on the left wing. And I know that Sterling has played there before, but he doesn't have a good crossing ability. He is like a young Aaron Lennon. He's someone who is very fast, but he's definitely not worth £50 million. And unfortunately, because of stupid money in football, because I do believe there is good and stupid, this was definitely more on the stupid side of football. City paid 50 million for him and made a lot of people think he was quality, and probably gave him a bit of a big head, really, and he didn't need that. He was too young to have that kind of money paid for him, and I don't think he'd actually proven himself well enough, because even at Liverpool, it was proven that he had no final product. He scored 1 or 2 goals, but if you look back at when Liverpool lost 3-0 to Manchester United, Louis van Gaal's first season, Van Persie, Mata and Rooney scored. Look how many chances Raheem Sterling actually had in that game. That's just one example of him not being able to finish. But then when you actually put him out wide, you've seen he cannot deliver the ball properly. And unfortunately, we've seen the results of it in this tournament. Theo Walcott probably should have gone to this Euros. And to begin with, I wasn't actually so shocked he was left out. But when you actually look at the way England have played and the way that we didn't use our fullbacks properly at all, really, just the entire setup of the team was embarrassing. I liked the midfield trio of Ali, Dyer and Rooney to begin with. But when one of them's not having a good game, all right, Rooney had a shocking game everyone had a shocking game against Iceland. But you could see that Ali wasn't quite working. So if you want to do something different, don't take off Eric Dyer, your holding midfielder. Take off Dele Alli because he's not having a good game, okay? And bring on Ross Barkley, someone who is different to Dele Alli, someone who will actually take on players and have shots from long distance or really surge into the box, because we see him do it for Everton. He is a little bit more direct than Dele Alli. Dele Alli's very good at build-up play and those quick passes through, but Barkley's someone who likes to pick up the ball and really run at defenders. But we haven't seen him in this tournament. James Milner, if you're going to have someone on the right, James Milner. Again, someone who I said should have been in this team. Okay, because at the end of the day, in the second half of the season, he was the highest assist. He had the highest assist rate in the Premier League in the second half of last season. But again, we haven't seen him at this Euros. He was given 5 minutes at the end of the Russia game, and that was it. But again, this is what I mean about playing players that are on form. If you would have had Dele Alli playing behind Kane and Vardy, and you had Rooney, Milner and Dyer in midfield, Rooney just the one that's doing the kind of Carrick role, Milner being that engine, and you could have almost like that attacking foursome of Vardy, Kane, Milner and Ali just going wherever they want. And if it isn't working, then you can make changes. That's when you bring on the likes of Daniel Sturridge to be a bit different. But my God, has that man got to learn to pass a ball instead of shoot from 40 yards. Who else? Like I said, Ross Barkley. Marcus Rashford, okay? All right, this is the one player who I actually think has done himself some good at this tournament, because when you actually look at his performance against Wales, everyone I was sat around with watching that game, And everyone who I've spoken to about that game since have all said the same thing. This kid looks good. This kid looks very, very good. Should we have taken him? Originally, I said no, because I didn't want us to rush him, because let's face it, he's been a professional footballer. And what I mean by a professional footballer is he made his Man United debut like 200 days ago or less. It's just crazy. But even against Iceland, he came on in the 86th minute. Yet he's supposed to be our plan C when you want something that no one is expecting, because so far, not many teams have been able to realise how to deal with him as a player. We bring him on in the 86th minute. This 18-year-old kid, come on. You could see with half an hour, 20 minutes to go, that something wasn't working. And you give the kid 3 to 4 minutes. I mean, it's just abysmal. And then you play him on the left. Now, don't get me wrong. He did fantastic. All right, that corner in the last minute was pretty rubbish. But, come on, corners in England at this tournament, you know, it's not even worth talking about. It's that embarrassing. But so he was on for 3 minutes, 4 minutes at most. He took on more players in those 3 minutes than anyone else had tried to on the pitch the entire game. Direct. Something that would have been different. And they would have been my changes. Milner, Barkley, Rashford. Something new. Okay, I would have started with Vardy as well, because you saw when Kane put him through. All right, it was a fantastic recovery tackle from the defender, but you saw, okay, there was that directness, and that's what England needed against Iceland. But again, we're going on names, and not just names of the players we're picking. We're also going on the names of the opponents we're playing as well, because we thought we would walk over Iceland. We didn't do our research, and we assumed that because we walked through qualification that we were going to destroy everyone. And that's the one thing that I've really been disappointed about with Hodgson. The way that he always goes on about we've won 10 out of 10. We've won 10 out of 10 in qualification. We've won 10 out of 10. Guess what? You weren't playing anyone of any significance, okay? If you hadn't have won 10 games out of 10, I still would have wanted you to have been sacked. I wanted you sacked after Brazil. I never wanted you to be England manager anyway, okay? I thought it was completely the wrong choice. At the time, I thought Harry Redknapp deserved the job, because even though he'd been through a bit of a rocky phase with Tottenham, the football he was playing with them at one point was just fantastic. And they were so unlucky at one point not to arguably win the Premier League title or to finish in the Champions League. But, I mean, you know, Hodgson, he came into this job, I don't really think he deserved it. I don't think many England fans thought he deserved it. He got his first job in England when he was 65 or something stupid like that. And that just shows you his, you know, and when I say first job in England, I mean first proper job in English football. And I think, again, that just shows you the awful decision-making process that is being made by the FA when it comes to choosing the England manager. And when you look at who the favourites are to take over from him, Gareth Southgate and people like that, it's just, you know, again, they're just people that you don't feel like, oh yeah, I'd feel really excited about playing for him. You know, all right, he's done okay with the under-21s, but you know, he's had good tournaments and he's had absolutely terrible tournaments at the same time, and his club record is not great. All right, he's not great, and I've heard like Ray Wilkins say that Glenn Hoddle deserves the England job. The man hasn't managed a team in, well, most of my lifetime now. It's just, again, it's just a step backwards. And I wouldn't be shocked if we bring in a foreigner. I wouldn't be against it, to be honest with you. I think the England team needs a good shake-up, and I think it needs someone who's actually got a pair of balls, who's actually willing to only pick players who are in the best form and let players down. Because over the years, it's just been a constant spiral of bad decisions. Even, you look back at when we have Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes. Why are we accommodating all three of them? You know, we shouldn't have accommodated them back then. And today, it's making the same silly choices because we're accommodating players that aren't playing. Okay, we should have picked the best out of those three because, let's face it, they all had fairly similar positions. We should pick the best players now, but we're not. And after the game, Hodgson handed in his resignation. Good. You know, but, I mean, talk about bite the bullet. I mean, he took the cowardly way out, in my opinion, to then show up at the not answer any questions, and to then show up at the press conference the next day and say, "I don't know what I'm doing here." Wow, no offence, mate, but that's what most people have thought about you in the England job. Not many people have really known what you've been doing at that job. So I think it's a good thing that he's gone. I think it's the wake-up call the FA needed. I don't think any fans are shocked. And I think when it comes around to the World Cup in 2018, I think we'll be hoping that we can get out of the group stage. Well, that's if we qualify, because something needs to change. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, because as you can see, it's disappointing and I just want to forget about it. And I've kind of had my assumptions and rant about the whole thing. But congratulations to Iceland. That's how I want to end this. Congratulations to Iceland, because it is an amazing, amazing feat what you are doing as a country. I'm particularly happy because you're one of my teams in various sweepstakes that I've got going on. So that's like the only positive that I can take out of that they're one of my sweepstakes teams. So come on, beat France, get to the final, and create history. Create a miracle. And until next time, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. For all things wildlife, adventure and sport, AZAWorld is your place. And I will see you guys again soon.